Good morning, Boomer.
Hey, good morning, guys. How's everybody up there in New England? Things down here, not so good now that the Yankees' bloodletting is going to start this morning.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like Aaron Boone might be out of a job pretty quick.
Yeah, well, I don't. You're probably right, Greg. And the thing is that once you start reading it in the newspapers after Game 3, and you'll start hearing people that are around the Yankees talking about decisions that were made. That usually is not a good sign for whoever the manager or a coach may be of a particular team down here. So that has now started. That started really yesterday, and the way that the team looked last night and how listless they are and how they didn't really show a lot of heart in this series, I would think that somebody is going to have to pay a price, and unfortunately it's the manager.
So who had a worse October, the Yankees or Tom Brady, would you guess?
Man, I would say that Tom Brady did. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on there, man. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he's being able to handle everything off the field as well as on the field. I don't take any joy out of any of it. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and he's going through what a lot of people go through in life. Unfortunately, it's playing out in front of all of our eyes on the public stage, which is what really is disappointing about the whole aspect of it.
So do you think is that team that certainly their offense is just has been awful, but do you think that has a lot to do with it, what Tom Brady's going through?
I would think that there's some of that. It has to. He's a human being. I mean, anybody who's ever had any strife in their life, regardless of where it comes from, and then you try to take your life and you have to go to work, most people can do it anonymously. He can't. He's got to do it out there, and every move that he makes, everything that he says is completely picked apart. Now, look, he's 45 years old. He's not 25 anymore, and life is taking a turn on him.
Yeah.
So, and that's really unfortunate. The other thing that's taking a turn on him is, I think I kind of feel like losing Bruce Arians on the sideline is hurt. I don't care what anybody says. One thing about Bruce Arians is that, he wouldn't take any crap from Tom Brady. He would always hold him accountable, and he'd take a dig at him publicly here or there. You got to be careful for what you wish for, and I think Tom is probably living a little bit of that right now.
Well, it sounds like it's Mac Jones tonight when it comes to the New England Patriots, and I have been one lonely, reasonable voice in the wilderness on this, along with you. But that's the right decision, right, when it comes to Bill Belichick?
I believe it is, if that's the way they go. And like I said last week, that it's great that Bailey Zappe did what he did. It was great that Cooper Rush did what he did for the Dallas Cowboys. It's always an opportunity for a coach to use something as motivation. And when you have a young player like Mac Jones, the point is like he's accomplished a lot already in his young career, but you want to get more out of him. You want to make sure that he's following the plan that the coaches have set forth. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's accurate or not. There's a thought out there that Bailey Zappe did what Matt Patricia and Joe Judge wanted him to do, and he had a lot of success in doing it. I don't know if they changed the offense for the young rookie that much. I think they probably took some of the guesswork out of pass protection, made it a little bit easier for him. But this is Mac Jones's team. I mean, I have nothing but enormous respect for him for what he did last year and taking a team to the playoffs. So let's see how he reacts to this. That's really the key to all of it. And if he comes out and he plays as well as I think he will play, and the fact that they're playing the Bears, who really can't mount much of an offense against anybody, should lead to a victory tonight for the Patriots.
Boom, when you look at tonight's game, so let's say Mac does play, and he's probably still dealing with that ankle injury a little bit. What type of game plan or approach do you think you see with this Patriots offense? Is it something what we've seen with Zappe where it's more of under center, play action, but really consistently trying to run the football? Or do we see, Mac and Gunn spreading out and, trying to throw the football?
Well, I would think weather will have something to say about that tonight as well, too, depending on, if it's windy and wet and all of that other stuff. But I think Wiggy, I'm assuming that he's not 100%, and I'm assuming that, his mobility is going to be somewhat limited, and the last thing you want to do is see him running with the football. But I'm sure the adrenaline will be flowing. I'm sure early in this game that he'll probably take off a few times. He doesn't really run all that much, but he's a good enough athlete to extend plays. I just don't know how much of that part of the game will be a big part of his success tonight. So I would just think that what they're doing offensively seems to be working, and he's going to have to conform to what Matt Patricia wants. And then on the other side, To me, it's about the Patriot defense and the way that they've played the last 2 weeks. I mean, they've been awesome the last 2 weeks, and they're going against Justin Fields and an offense that completely is stuck in neutral. And sometimes in some games they've gone backwards. So this should be a game where the Patriot defense dominates, and you shouldn't have to ask your quarterback to throw the ball 45 times. I would think, somewhere between the 25 and 32 range in terms of pass attempts. Run the ball on 25 or 30 attempts is probably the recipe for the way that they win tonight.
Yeah, I feel like Chicago, like the only team Chicago might be able to beat this year is the Buccaneers.
Man, Greg, you got it out for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, man. I'm telling you.
I'm sorry.
He did win
Poor
a Super
guy
Bowl
looks like a
down
shell
there,
of
you know.
himself.
Yeah, he did win a
Yes.
Super Bowl. Yes, he won a Super Bowl. But do you think he regrets coming back out of retirement? Do you think he wish he stayed retired this year?
I'm telling you, there was the reason that Stephen Ross got suspended by the Miami Dolphins or by the NFL is because the Miami Dolphins were trying to get Sean Payton and Tom Brady to come there and be quarterback and coach. I think Ross was offering Brady a front office position, maybe a portion of the team. I mean, that was serious. That was real. And once Brady figured out he couldn't get there, he decided he wanted to play again. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with the personal side of his life. I would imagine that Giselle would probably much rather live in Miami than she would in Tampa. And I don't know where the kids are living. I don't know, how their whole arrangement is set up. But I think, that's one of the reasons why maybe all of that stuff was going on this offseason was to get to Miami, to keep everybody happy. And when that didn't happen and he had to go back to Tampa, and what I remember, too, also in the offseason, he went to Manchester with the Glazer family for a soccer game over there, if you remember that.
Yeah.
So something was going on there, too, as well. I mean, there's always something going on with Tom Brady business-wise off the field. The $375 million contract from Fox and the realization that if you take that job, then you're going to be away all those weekends as well. You may not be playing, but you're going to be gone simply because you got to do your homework for the game that you're going to be broadcasting that week. So maybe Giselle just saw the future and said, I don't want to live this life anymore. I want to go back to living the life that I had prior to all of this nonsense that is called football. And, she is Brazilian. She's not from here. I'm sure she knows the game and loves the game because Tom has been successful at it. But I'm sure there's also a lot of stress between the two of them because he continues to play and he plays in Tampa.
Boomer, back to Mac and Bailey for a second. When you think mentally for the quarterback, what is that like for Mac now? He goes out there, if he screws up even a little bit, he has to have some sweat dripping down the back of his neck knowing that Bailey's, licking his chops right behind him. And he also has some of the fan base that's rooting for Bailey over him.
A lot of coaches will tell you that, show me a quarterback that has had a couple bad games or is coming off of an injury and replacing a very popular backup. And show me that quarterback that can go out there and deal with all that off-the-field stress and that manufactured stress that comes along with the other guy having success. And I'll show you a winning quarterback. I'll show you a quarterback that I know that can take the team deep into the playoffs. So the mental aspect inside of it, Courtney, is really just as important as the physical. And I think this is it's a good test for Mac Jones early on in his career. Yeah, Bailey had a nice couple games, and Bailey did a lot of good jobs, and he's kind of a folk hero. He's a Western Kentucky rookie, and nobody expected him to look like he did last week. So I'm sure Mac Jones is very aware of that, and we in the quarterback room, we always want to know who's one, who's two, who's three, who's the man, who's not the man, whose team is it. All that stuff is real, and this is going to be great for Bill Belichick and his coaching staff to find out whether or not Mac Jones has that lizard skin, so to speak, to withstand all of this nonsense that he's dealt with for the last 3 weeks and go out there and play well and reclaim his job and do it so in a very, very distinct fashion.
Well, Boomer, you know better than anybody else in football. There's one position that you really can't platoon guys is the quarterback position. So when you look at a game like tonight or you look at just Mac moving forward, what does he got to be thinking mentally as far as, like you just said, is this his team? What does the leash look like? If he plays bad, does Bill and Matt Patricia, do they go to Zappe? Or is he in the position mentally where he's like, I can make a ton of mistakes and they're not going to pull me?
You know, for me, I'd just be like, I wouldn't be, I'd be livid at the situation. I wouldn't be livid at all the other stuff for Bailey Zappe. I mean, Bailey Zappe's just doing what the team is asking him to do, and he far exceeded expectations. So I would wish Bailey Zappe the very best when he was on the field. But now I got to go back, and I have to go out there, and I have to reestablish who I am for this team. And by the way, you know, most of the guys on the team, from all reports, respect Mac Jones, the amount of work that he's put in. He looks a lot better this season than he did last season physically. It means a lot to him. There's no question. I don't think any of us doubt any of that. Now it's just a matter of dealing with all the mental gymnastics that come along with watching another guy have a lot of success because you got injured and you weren't playing maybe as well as everybody would have expected you to play, especially in that game against Baltimore where I thought he was playing. He was in the midst of playing one of his best games, and he had 2 bad interceptions that ended up costing them the game. And that's why I think the Bailey Zappe taking over after the fact and having success and winning, you know, puts the pressure back on the shoulders for Mac Jones. So let's find out what kind of man you are. You know, go out there, reestablish yourself, go play well. You don't have to force the issue. There's enough good players around you. And like I said, you know, Zach Wilson won a game yesterday, and they barely completed any passes or got any first downs. He just didn't turn the ball over, and he was under basically siege all day long. I would probably say that's the same thing for Mac Jones tonight. As long as you don't turn the ball over, you don't have a chance to lose this game. I mean, meaning that Chicago is just not good enough offensively to take advantage of the Patriot defense unless they got great field position and there's some sort of mistake that the offense makes.
Question of the week for Boomer is brought to you by McFarland Energy, the always reliable HVAC and home oil delivery pros at McFarlandEnergy.com. Boomer, heading into this past weekend, scoring was at the lowest it has been in 13 years. Why?
I think a couple of reasons. Injured offensive lines, number one. Injured quarterbacks. We're seeing a lot of backups that have to play, although some backups are better than the starters, a.k.a. the Washington Commanders and Taylor Heineke. But I also think turnovers are a big part of this. And the other thing, too, is that there are a lot of great defensive linemen. I mean, and a lot of these defensive linemen are just ruining, games. They're ruining offenses. And I would say the other aspect technically on the field is that the red zone scoring is way down. And that may be because the running back play is way up. The running statistics look like to be heading, higher as the quarterback statistics are actually heading lower. But with games like the one that Patrick Mahomes had yesterday and Joe Burrow had yesterday, we still have a lot of great quarterbacks in this league. When they are healthy and rolling, their teams are going to score a lot of points. And I think, we'll start to see that here now as we round the corner into the second half of the season.
All right, Boomer. As always,
it's it.
It's good.
Thank you.
That was good. I got to tell you something, Greg. Seeing you here last week with your Marconi just prancing around and showing everybody, I hope that it brought you luck, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, as long as we're talking about it, I was going to say, you do look older in person than you do on television. I don't know if anybody...
Well, that's because I have a lot of makeup on television.
I don't know if anybody ever told you that or not, but I've been waiting. Since you said I was fat, I've been waiting for that one. I just watched it. I was working on that all weekend.
You know what that is? I can take that's locker room talk. I can take it. No worries.
All right. Oh, who do you like Sunday? Pats or Jets? Early. I want you on record early on this.
Oh boy, I would take the Pats.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
All right.
But the Jets are coming out of this Denver game with a ton of offensive injuries, and their offense just has not done anything really of significance. They like the Bears can't seem to move the ball for whatever reason. They lost Breece Hall, their most explosive player. It looks like to an ACL. Looks like he's going to be out for the year, which is really disappointing. And Corey Davis, one of their wide receivers, is injured. And Elijah Vera Tucker, one of their most versatile offensive linemen, went out with an elbow injury. So I don't know about their status for next week, those two players, but right now their offense is really beat up. And I would think, assuming that New England comes out of this game healthy tonight, that they should be favored against the Jets.
All right, Boomer. We'll talk to you Monday.
All right,
Thanks.
guys. Have a great week.